Can everyone online hear me and in person?
All good.
Folks,
We can hear you on
can
my
folks
end.
hear us online?
Yes.
Will you try again?
Can you hear
Yes,
me online?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes.
All right. Thank you everyone for joining us today for our Contra Costa Youth and Young Adult Voices on Homelessness. We have a few people in the room and then we have a lot of folks online. And so I want to thank everyone both in person and online for taking some time today. I'm very, very appreciative for everyone for showing up, and I'm especially thankful and grateful for our Youth Action Board members here today. We couldn't do this without them. Before we get started, we're going to kind of go over some land and labor acknowledgement. And so the first one is, whose land are we on? California Community College honor and acknowledge that our 116 campuses throughout the state of California are located in the unceded territories of the 109 federally recognized tribes and the dozens of tribes throughout the state who are seeking recognition. We are committed to supporting the ongoing relationships between these tribes, their ancestral territories, and the resilient strength and sovereignty that continues to be demonstrated by California's First Peoples. We affirm our intentions for ongoing relationships with the American Indian tribal nations and communities whose ancestral lands we occupy and students we educate. A land acknowledgement is a critical step towards working with Native communities to secure meaningful partnerships and inclusion in the stewardship and protection of their cultural resources and homeland. Our institutions were founded upon exclusion and erasure of Indigenous people. We honor and are grateful for the land we occupy and recognize the ongoing damage of settler colonialism. We commit to pursuing continuous collaboration with the tribal nation of California. We strive to strengthen our awareness of historical, contemporary issues in California, to reckon with our institutional legacy on people, land, water of this place, which are and will be inextricable. Thank you. Who's labor?
There's plenty of food.
This is a statement to recognize and acknowledge the labor upon which our county, city, state, and institutions are built. We remember that our country was built on the labor of enslaved people who were kidnapped and brought to the U.S. from African continent, and recognize the continued contribution of their survivors. We also acknowledge all immigrant and indigenous labor, involuntary, including voluntary and involuntary, trafficked, forced, and undocumented people who contributed to the building of this country and continue to serve within our labor. We recognize that our country is continuously defined, supported, and built upon oppressed communities and people. We acknowledge labor inequality and the shared responsibility for combating justice systems in our daily life. Thank you. One more. This is my favorite one. And it's come from one of my favorite nonprofits, RISE. Why are we here today? We are here because housing insecurity and homelessness are fundamentally racial justice issues. The formation and functioning of this country was and is enacted through displacement, enslavement, extermination, and exploitation and settler death. It is continued today through housing displacement and deprivation, predatory and extractive land takeover, use, and ongoing redlining, all which rely on and reveal, deserve, and de facto racial discrimination in housing policy and in intersection areas of education, employment, healthcare, policing, and public safety. We are here today so that we can do better. This next step here, we are looking to do a gallery walk, and we're going to do it in person and online. And so Jamie will walk folks who are online first, and then we'll kind of do this part here. My name is Hope, and I work here at Contra Costa College. I am the basic news coordinator, and I'm very grateful to be here speaking with everyone today. Next, I'm going to bring in Caroline and Michael, who will walk us through our next part here. Thank you. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Caroline Miller, she's here with Contra Costa Health.
This is Michael speaking.
With our Youth Action Board, one of our newest members of our Youth Action Board. So Michael and I are going to kind of start off just to level set and get us thinking about youth and young adult homelessness and what it looks like in our community. We have a poster gallery here in person with these set of 5 questions. We click to the next slide, please. All right, there we go. So we have these set of 5 questions along the poster here in the space, and in the virtual world, Jamie will help facilitate our whiteboard. But just to kind of level set and get us thinking about before we get into our panel and talk a little bit about our most recent needs assessment. Right up there.
Okay, how many, experienced homelessness in CCC? What strengths do have? What are the needs of and what challenges stand in the way of those needs? What are the systems, places, and people that interact with? What needs to change about the homelessness system?
We like to joke that we have a lot of alphabet soup here, and so one of the newer acronyms that we're adding to our alphabet soup is that we know as youth and young adults. So when you see YYA, that means youth and young adults. So for folks in the Zoom world, Jamie will help you in the whiteboard, and then for folks that are here in person, we invite you to think about these questions, have some post-its on the table that you can send, and then everyone can kind of join in, and we'll spend a few moments before we get into the needs assessment. You guys have joined me? Okay. Yeah. Oh, well. Let's have some post-its there too.
Thank you.
Can we turn it on? Yes. Never seen you in person. Carolyn. Thank you. Good to see you. June first.
So make sure you're going.
No, I don't.
Perfect.
Let's see. Can the virtual world hear me now? Give me a thumbs up. Okay. Woo. Thank you all for hanging in there with us and your patience. Again, it's just interesting as we kind of navigate this hybrid world, but we're going to share these special mics because our main mic isn't working. But as I was saying, thank you for just taking the time to reflect, kind of level set with some of these check-in questions. We got a full gallery here in person, and I hope for the folks online, you were able to just kind of take some time to reflect before we get into our needs assessment, what we've been up to, and then of course our youth and young adult panel with our youth action board members. So thank you all. Gonna go to my next slide. So again, my name is Caroline Miller, she, her. I work with Contra Costa Health, Housing and Homeless Services. And going to be joined virtually by another YAB member, Leon. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Leon Seili. I've been a YAB member since 2023. I've also been a part of the DCTP
We're
programs.
having a tough time hearing the virtual world, I think. But if Leon, you want to maybe
Hello?
introduce yourself on the chat, or if you could go off mute. Okay. Well, we're here.
Hello.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so. Yeah, so, okay, so virtual world could hear Leon, that's amazing. Leon, I'll let you introduce yourself in the virtual world.
Oh, good. Sorry about that, guys. Yes, my name is Leon Seili. I am one of the YAB members here in Contra
And
Costa.
we'll get
I'm
started.
also
It's hard to know, like when Leon is a fellow Youth Action Board member. And so again, just thanking everyone for being here in community with us as part of November's National Homeless Youth Awareness Month. And again, just trying to do some grounding and level setting as we look into some of the updates on our youth and young adult homelessness and what we've been doing the past year. And I in particular asked Leon to join me because we met about a year ago when we were doing the community needs assessment process, and Leon has been involved in this journey since then, and to really look at improving our homeless system of care for youth and young adults. So thank you, Leon. Go to the next slide. Yeah, I'll try to go to the next slide. There we go. Okay. And with everything and in honor of this month, we want to start with the strengths of our young people. This is where all conversations and decision-making should begin. These are the words that the young people in our community use to describe themselves during our we did about 3 focus groups last fall, all in support of the community needs assessment. And the young people were asked to think about positive adjectives, characteristics, traits, and skills. So this is for us to sit with, acknowledge, and hold as we move forward. So our youth and young adult, right? Community needs assessment. So again, about a year ago, we took on this journey. It's now posted on our website, so you all should have the link. So Health, Housing, and Homeless began to work with Matthew Aronson Consulting on this community needs assessment. And it was really the first step in our county and our partners developing a coordinated community response to youth and young adult homelessness in our community. And a couple goals was really to understand the scope and nature throughout our community, engage and recruit additional partners to support this effort, develop the next steps towards preventing and ending youth and young adult homelessness, and then taking on the process of applying for HUD's Youth Homelessness Demonstration Program. So I'll talk a little bit about that. But that is available online. You see the link there. Some of the methodology, just really quickly for folks, during this needs assessment process, we kicked off in July of 2023 with some key informant interviews. Then we moved on to youth and young adult and essentially adult focus groups later that summer and fall. There was a series of, we had a community survey out also during fall of last year, and then brought back the community to do some co-interpretive workshops in spring of this 2024. In terms of quantitative and what data we were looking at, we always start with our homeless management information system, also known as HMIS, our point in time count, also known as the PIT, and our McKinley-Vento, our school data, our public school data. So we start there, then looked also at the census data from Voices of Youth Count Initiative, so at the national level, and then looking at very local and state agencies that serve youth and young adults. And I don't hear myself anymore. Okay, there we go. Other systems of care. And so looking at all of this, forward here. This is where kind of our baseline. So we start with the point in time, and the point in time and the HMIS Homeland Management Information System is really our kind of our floor estimates, right? It's what we have. And we know that young people don't show up in our system of care in the same way that adults do. So the most recent point in time, there were 167 youth and young adults living on the streets in shelter or transitional housing. It's important to note this was a 46% increase over the prior point in time count. Moving on to our homelessness management information system, there were 899 youth and young adult-led households that accessed our continuum of care, our resources. So this is, our floor, kind of our baseline. When we look at our educational system here in Contra Costa, our public school system, there were 2,875 students that were identified as experiencing homelessness. And then at a national level, if we take the national estimates, based on our population, we're estimating that there are over 13,000 youth and young adults actually experiencing homelessness. Some of the characteristics I just wanted to highlight, again, all the details are in the needs assessment, but just to, again, level set what we learned through this needs assessment process. Race and ethnicity, the majority, 71 to 73% identify as BIPOC, with 48, a little bit over 40% identifying as Black. And the two numbers are both PIT and HMIS. With sexual orientation and gender identity, we have approximately 11% that identify as LGBTQIA+. This is likely an undercount for several reasons. Young people are usually asked during intake process, and they may not disclose everything, right? So we believe that this is definitely an undercount, because when you look at the national estimates, it's between 20 to 40% of LGBTQIA+ identified that are experiencing homelessness. Kind of moving along to health and trauma in our system, 50% identified disabling conditions. This could includes mental health, substance use, chronic health conditions, or physical disability. 25% report experiencing domestic violence. Education and employment, about 82% have a high school diploma, and 41.7%, when we look statewide, are in college. In our system, we have 51% that have some form of income. So level set there. Leon, if you're online, I know the online world could hear you. If you want to read out some of the key findings from our needs assessment, I'll let you do that. And for the folks in the room, I'll let you just read it, so I don't have to talk over.
Hi, guys. I know you guys can hear me in the virtual world. Yes, so here are the key findings that were researched upon here in the YAB. There are not enough
We're improvising.
youth and young adult homelessness resources to meet the immediate need. I myself have experienced this as well when I was into that position. And poverty-related root causes present significant barriers to long-term thriving. Here we also have YYA and providers frequently lack of awareness and access to safe, effective, and affirming resources due in part to geography, racism, homophobia, and transphobia here in the county. Cross-system coordination, collaboration, and systems building are more broadly remains a key barrier, and yet opportunities have not emerged. YYAs are not yet authentically included as partners in decision making, and they frequently face stigmatism and the lack of empathy from community members here within our own county.
Thank you, Leon. Look at us improvising. It's like constant improvising. Go to the next slide. So these are the key findings from the needs assessment process, and just want to highlight some next steps and what we've been up to. It's been quite a year and a lot to celebrate for sure. So from the needs assessment, next steps was using it as a strategic forward in terms of our planning, and to launch a short-term community-wide strategic planning. Also to apply a competitive application for the Youth Homelessness Demonstration Program, and implement a protocol to regularly use and update this as a living document. This is living, right? Another key finding was to commit to bolstering the authentic youth and young adult partnership, beginning with establishing a youth action board. And we officially began convening our youth action board in March of 2024. So not that long ago, but so much has been accomplished, and they'll talk a little bit more about it. Right now, our youth action board is currently structured as a work group within the oversight committee of our Council on Homelessness. We are using state funding through HAP, health, housing, and prevention. Yes, okay. And, this year really focused, our youth action board was really centered on, again, submitting a competitive youth homelessness demonstration program application, training, providing leadership opportunities for young people, developing bylaws. These are when you're starting something like this. So glad to a lot of that has, we've been moving forward with a lot of those recommendations and next steps from our needs assessment. Here. So as I mentioned, we did submit an application for the HUD Youth Homelessness Demonstration Program. It was released in June, and the application was due on the 29th. So we submitted, and that was a lot of our summer was focused on working with our young people here, working with some of our YAB members who I know are online, and partners, so many partners, to develop and submit this competitive application. On October 29th, HUD announced the $72 million to fund the youth homelessness housing across 14 different communities, including 5 rural communities. And sadly, we weren't selected, and it's okay. I think we've had a lot of time to kind of debrief on what our next steps were, and we recognize all the work that has been put this past year with our YAB, our partners. We're celebrating those accomplishments, looking at ahead, and really thinking about continuing to build and empower our YAB, enhance our partnerships, and invest and uphold this short-term strategic plan, which we're just diving into right now. And before we move on to our panel, I think, Leon, we wanted to share part of our youth homelessness demonstration program or project application. There was a piece that asked the adults, all of us adult allies and us partners, to think about what does authentic youth collaboration mean to us. And so wanted to share this with everyone, again, to sit on and hold as we move forward and continue to build relationships with our young people. So Leon, I'll let you read online.
Got it. Thank you. So YHDP, their response. This is actually something that we've been working on for the past summer here in Contra Costa. While we were not awarded YDHP, I wanted to share a piece of our YDHP narrative, reflecting on the past year's work with the YAB strategic planning and community needs assessment. Here's our community needs response. As shared by YYA and community partners, authentic youth collaboration means youth and young adults are partners in designing and creating their ecosystem of support and making meaningful impacts on the youth and young adult homelessness response. In this collaboration, sorry, this collaboration is grounded in trust, safety, and maintaining equitable and affirming spaces. It means adult partners commit to elevating and institutionalizing youth and young adult voice in their decision-making process, power sharing, identifying opportunities to exercise their agency, and understanding and dismantling adultism. Authentic collaboration also means centering young youth adults, personal and professional development, and providing support and living wage for young youth adults' lived expertise. It means always prioritizing action of authentic youth collaboration over efficiency, adult expectations, or even funding.
Thank you, Leon. So with that, I think this sets us up in a good space to kind of move into our panel, and I'll pass it to Juno.
Thank you, Caroline, and thank you, Leon, as well. We'll hold on to those words as we continue to move forward into our panel, and I'll introduce myself. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, that's us. Yes, I'll introduce myself. I am Renee Juno Hedrick. My pronouns are they, them. I am vice chair on the Council on Homelessness and lived experience advisor alongside my peer, Joe Bruno. And thank you, everybody, for sharing this space with us today, the space of vulnerability and truth. Next, we're going to be hearing directly from our panelists of youth and young adult experts. And I wanted to point out that each member of our panel is a Youth Action Board member, as Caroline also mentioned and gave us a little bit of background about the work we've been doing lately, and also a person with lived experience and of homelessness in the county and a change maker in our community. So as we move into the sharing of experiences, I'll leave some space for YAB members to introduce themselves with their pronouns, and maybe, yeah. So we'll start with Anastasia.
Hello, my name is Anastasia Lockwood. She, her pronouns.
Hello, I'm John West. He, him pronouns.
Hello, I am Ray Solog. I use he, she, they pronouns.
My name is Johnny Cox. I use he, him pronouns.
My name is Heaven Walker. I use she, her pronouns.
My name's Anastasia, but you guys can call me Anna. I'm a she and her. And yeah, who else do I pass this to?
Hey, this is Michael. My pronouns are he and him. Yeah.
And before we move on, also taking a moment to recognize any other YAB members we have in the online space. And feel free to introduce yourselves or leave your pronouns in the chat. And thanks for being here. We'll move on to our next slide. And we'll move right into it. Anybody, Anastasia? Okay, so we'll start off with our, oh, Michael, right, apologies.
Great.
A little bit closer this way, we're using that one.
Yeah, sorry. Before we get into the panel, we thought it might be good to just share the community agreements of the YAB and the values that they uphold in spaces together. And so we want to uphold that here in space with you, community with you. Go ahead, Mike.
YAB agreements. throw glitter, not shade, responsibilities, open-minded, have fun, do not be scared, ask questions, and freedom. Right, and that's right here. Assume best intentions. Be the change you want to see. Challenge the questions, idea, not the person. Honor acceptance, not judgment. Be your authentic self.
Thank you so much, Michael. And we review those agreements every meeting before every YAB meeting, and we all come together and with those agreements in the space. So those are all very live. And now we will get into the panel proper, starting with Anastasia. You all set? Okay. Get you mic'd up here. So Anastasia, what innovative ideas or solutions do you see emerging in the fight against homelessness?
As more attention is gaining on the fight against youth homelessness, there have already been some innovative ideas to address the issue. An approach that I see playing a big role is rapid rehousing. Rapid rehousing aims to quickly move youth into permanent housing with short-term rental assistance and supportive services. The goal is to reduce the length of homelessness and prevent it from becoming chronic. I have recent experience with rapid rehousing. I went from staying at a youth shelter, moved over to transitional housing, and then I got accepted into Hope Solutions Rapid Rehousing Program. After being with them for about 2 months, I was moved into a nice place that I can call my own. I didn't have to face the struggles people typically face when looking for housing. They made it really easy for me. They were willing to work with me. And even though I'm fully responsible, they continue to reassure me that I'm not alone in this new, unfamiliar journey. And then another approach that I want to mention are prevention programs and early intervention. Really just addressing homelessness before it starts by identifying at-risk youth and providing them with support they need to remain housed, whether that's through family support services, education, or job trainings.
Thank you, Anastasia. And want to leave the space open for any other panelists who want to share any thoughts or feel that they have anything that came up from hearing that. Okay, lovely. And we'll move on to our next question. This is going to be, we'll be hearing from Teddy next. Teddy, how can we create stronger partnership between housing providers, schools, local governments? Apologies. How can we create stronger partnerships between housing providers, schools, local governments, and community organizations to better serve homeless youth?
Speaking from personal experience, seeing partnerships be built and then fall apart, I would say it's entirely based on communication and advertisement of services. Like, I didn't know half the programs that I know now about a year ago when I first became homeless. And I am genuinely thankful for most of these programs that just came out of the woodworks to help me.
Thank you, Teddy. And does anyone to leave the space open for any other YAB members who maybe felt similar or had similar experiences in the past? Anna.
Okay, so as for number 2, well, I'm just gonna use my words instead of what I've written because from my experience from being homeless, from being from group homes, I didn't have a support system to help me, show me where to go after I left my group home and graduated high school. So I reached out to social services and they were able to lead me to the homeless council. And from there, I was able to meet genuine people that will help the youth or young adults that are in need. And they were able to help me and lead me to the resources. So one thing and what advice I can give is whenever you need somewhere to go for a resource, social services is the best office to get to because they have all resources right in the office. So that's one thing I can experience with the programs that I've had and needed to share. Other than that, we all have our own social workers. At a young age, once we're 18, we automatically have a social worker in the system that helps us and can guide us. We just don't know who they are, but I normally would say go to a social service or any resource office around your nearest, way or the way you can get to.
Thank you for sharing about how you navigate those spaces. Was there anybody else who feels like they might want to share some
I
thoughts?
do. I want to say because on paper it's saying we need more affordable housing resources, and I agree because you could talk a big game, and you can say that things need to change, but without resources like housing, like because where are we gonna put people? I just seen in San Francisco that there are pods now being like available for rent at $700, and it's a step in the right direction because rent out there is $4,000, so $700 is, compared to that is better. But it's not focused towards youth, and I feel like how do I put it without sounding like okay? So youth, like we just like after we turn 18, it's like, we in the game, but people who are older and are experiencing homelessness, I feel like have more opportunities. And they sometimes look down on us for experiencing homelessness, for being young and thinking that we can, go out there and get it when it's just not as easy as they like. If it's not easy for them, it won't be easy for us, my thing. So affordable housing and resources are definitely impactful, I feel like. Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else feel like they compelled to share any experiences or any thoughts?
I'll just say one thing. I think we really need to work on developing strong youth advocacy and peer networks. We should be empowering young people with lived experience in homelessness to take on advocacy roles, or leadership roles in advocacy and support networks. Um, these youth advocates can help bridge the gap between service providers and the homeless youth community, ensuring that services meet the real needs of their peers. We could develop peer-led support groups or mentorship programs where youth who have overcome homelessness guide and advocate for others in similar situations, which is kind of like what we're doing in the YAB right now too.
Right.
Thank you, Anastasia. And it sounds like you're talking about sort of meeting youth where they are with authentic engagement. And I definitely agree that feel like we've been doing some of that work here through the YAB, and we'll continue to do so. Anybody else feel they want to share anything about this question or any thoughts? Michael, I'll bring the mic to you. Oh.
So what I think about like how you can create a stronger partnership between housing or actually with homelessness, if there was a way to have more open space, because a lot of homeless people need their space and then the resource can come to them and they can get placed into a housing and shelters. That's what my opinion is, I think.
Testing. Testing. Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Michael, for sharing your thoughts there. And anybody else feel like they want to share any thoughts? Okay, we'll move on to our next question. Next, we'll be hearing from Anastasia again a little bit about Anastasia. We talk a little bit about one thing you think everyone in this room can do to make a difference in the lives of homeless or house insecure youth.
One thing everyone can do is to become an advocate and ally. This can take many forms, whether it's raising awareness about youth homelessness, supporting local organizations that provide services, or simply listening and showing empathy to young people who may be experiencing homelessness, and recognizing how your own biases play a part in our insecurities. Advocacy helps break the stigma surrounding homelessness and fosters a greater sense of community responsibility, whether through volunteering time, donating resources, or just starting conversations about the issue. Individuals can contribute to creating a more supportive, inclusive environment for young people who need it the most. The key is showing compassion and actively working to address both immediate needs and long-term solutions.
Thank you, Anastasia. Anybody else have any thoughts about one thing that people in this room can do to make a difference in y'all's lives or in the lives of other homeless youth?
I'll piggyback off Anastasia and just agree with using our voices to share our experiences with other youth so they know that they aren't alone. Like, it's people dealing with the same problems, and there are services and programs that can help with what anybody's going through or dealing with.
Yeah, I want to echo that sentiment. It's the services are out there, and part of it is navigating to them.
So, what I think about when everyone is making a difference, we're all making a difference right now. That's what I think. I think the more we all come together, the more people, we're not just only building a person in an empire, we're building a voice. So I feel like each person here in this room, I can say has changed my life in a difference because I was homeless at some point. But not only that, I made some good ass colleagues. Oh, yeah, good ass colleagues, AS, and some good, good genuine people. And at the end of the day, I've met some powerful, most genuine resources, people that are on the top, supervisors, biggest people with biggest heart, because at the end of the day, we don't have a voice. So for every adult in this room, I appreciate you, and people online, I appreciate you for even giving up your time just to sit here, because we're just making a difference just by sitting here and planning and supporting others that really need us. So, yeah.
Thank you, Anna. And as an ally myself, I will say it's an honor to be a part of this space. So thank you for allowing us to be a part of the space with you. Michael?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Right.
So what I was thinking, that what can help with resources, you don't have to, but like I'm saying, like resources can be good for like, I'm saying like blankets and pillows, things to keep them warm so they can stay out from the cold nights, because it gets super cold out there when you're sleeping out there. And it's like, it's very like, I don't know, it's just, they don't need food, they have way to get food. The water is easy to get, there's water everywhere. They have money, so giving out money is not a problem. It's just blankets and pillows will help them through the night to keep them warm. They get the resources, they find out ways to get housing. There's a bunch of homeless people that I know that got into, rooms for, into rooms and housing and stuff like that. So I just think that if you know how to keep someone comfortable throughout the night, then that can really help with the stuff. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. I think I'm hearing you say that each person's experiences is different, and meeting them where they are, like it can be as simple as bringing the blankets. Yeah. So thank you. Anybody else feel anything come up that they want to share?
Sure.
Can I say
To kind of
something? Can you
piggyback
hear
off
me?
of what Mike said, I just feel like if you can help someone, that you should. And not only that, but I feel empathy, just taking the time and, actually hearing someone. I know when you're suffering through homelessness, there's a lot of pride and ego, no matter who you are. Sometimes it's not a lot, just a little, just enough to where sometimes you feel like you have a hard time asking for help. So I feel like if you can ask someone if they need help, just to get them whatever they may need. That would be, that would make a big difference in someone's experiences.
Can I say something?
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Deborah.
Yes. I would just like to say, well, maybe you can have like an event.
Yeah. No, you're good, Jamie. You're good. Thank you, Deborah. We'll hear your question towards the end of the panel, but hold on to it, please, or put it in
Okay.
the chat so we can make sure we get to it.
Okay, thank you.
Well, if anybody else has any thoughts, Teddy.
Just to build off of what Heaven and Michael said, there is a name for that random act of empathy. It's called a random act of kindness, and you hardly see it nowadays, especially towards youth and young adults, mostly aimed towards grown adults, elderly, or people under 18. Those are the majority that get the random act of kindness. So I really prefer if we would be able to see more acts of kindness towards the youth and young adult population, because honestly, I've had my heart wrenched, my day made multiple times whenever someone decided to help me out. And my most recent one was probably when I was trying to get food and someone paid for my food because I didn't have enough money.
Thank you, Teddy. Yeah, it can be paying for food or the blankets. Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else have anything to share about one thing that maybe we can take away to help youth experiencing homelessness? Okay, I think we'll move on to our next question then. Thanks, everybody. Our next question is, what are some of the biggest challenges you faced when trying to access housing as a young person? And Teddy, I can throw it right back to you on this one.
Yep. Honestly, I experienced a lot when trying to find housing. Mostly the high rent, the credit score. I don't have a credit card. I'm trying to get one to build my credit, but I have to wait for an exemption to go through at the state level for me to even get one. And most of the time when I was trying to talk with landlords, it was a lack of respect, ageism, sexism, like so many barriers for me to just get a house or get even a room. And not even that, when I was trying to get into shelters, they said I did not meet specific requirements. I was lucky to get into Cali House Shelter, that in itself, because of my disabilities.
Thank you. And I can imagine it's hard to like break through those barriers and those challenges, but
yeah,
thank you for being here with us today and breaking through them. And would anybody else like to talk about some of those barriers or challenges you've run into? Evan?
With my experiences, trying to access housing, it was waiting list. Just to be upfront and simple, that's the first thing you're gonna deal with, and expecting a call back and those kind of things. And I feel like because there's such a shortage of programs, like half the people are on 2 to 3 to all the waiting lists that there are, and there's only so many. So I feel like it's compact, I would say. Like it's just only so many, so everyone's just everywhere waiting, constantly waiting. And I remember the first time I experienced homelessness, and I waited about like almost 2 seasons, like 6 months, just to get a call back from the first place I applied, you know? So I feel like that's a problem. Just not so many, there's not many options, and all those options are dense. There's, you know, there's already spots being filled. you're on a waiting list. You probably won't get a call back until, you're at your wit's end. So yeah.
Thank you, Heaven. And I see you over there with the mic.
Yeah, so one of the first when I turned 18, I didn't have no credit. I didn't have, guidance at the time. I didn't even know what was ILSP at the moment. I didn't know what was Contra Costa Health. When I turned 18, I figured the challenge that I was needing was to get credit at a young age. And I didn't have the guidance or anyone to tell me what credit was, what do you need credit for? And I believe a lot of schools, especially colleges, I feel like we need to spread that word more for the youth, young adults especially. Like, hey, if you're suffering from homelessness or you're about to move out at the age of 18 because for some reason your parents don't want you or you don't have your parents at all and you're in a foster care, or it's just so many reasons you stay with grandma and she's falling into dementia, or, there's a lot going on. So I feel like we really have to share the youth how and where you can get credit, because when I turned 18, I actually signed up. I had to go get my California ID and I had to go to Chase. That's where I started my credit. But I had to learn that by myself, because when I first went out trying to look for my own room for rent, my own bedroom, it was hard for me to even get in a one bedroom because I didn't have credit. And I didn't know that till 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 this day, even for a house, you need credit. So a credit goes a long way, and I feel like we do need to spread the word to youth, especially youth getting out of foster systems or about to start college with their dorm rooms. I just feel like we need to get it out there more, like, hey, this is how we can do credit, and at least the class, so they can know and they're prepared to start their journey as an adult themselves. Um, that's one of the biggest challenges I faced throughout the whole entire time I was homelessness. So yes.
Leon, go ahead.
Hi, you guys. I'm Leon. Wanted to make a full introduction earlier, but although I am a YAB member here today, and this is my team that has been working hard constantly, always here for the youth. And I was one of those youth that went through just everything similar to these youth today in front of you. I also took part in DCTP, which is funding for youth in crisis, as well as helping around in the county as much as possible. I also have worked with Hope Dixon, and within our needs, as well as helping others, we came together to see the possibilities of what we can do for youth and youth becoming adults. I've seen it all. I had all kinds of youth in my caseload throughout time and time again for the last 2 years, trying to get help. I myself needed help at one point, and I know how it is. It is a struggle to even get some kind of financial stability, building credit to even get where we need. And I agree with the youth here today that we do need institutionalized more help for youth that don't know where to go. I was one of those youth. And I want to appreciate and shout out to a lot of programs, especially YAB, including SparkPoint, who helped me along the way to make this happen. So I do want to preach and say, as participants today, do your best to help our community and help us achieve those goals, even though in our darkest times. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leon. Does anybody feel inspired to share their feelings or thoughts?
I agree with everything that's been said. Financial literacy is important, and I was saying I agree with everything that's been said, and financial literacy is important. It's an important factor in housing, just livelihood in general. So that was it.
Just want to echo that sentiment. I've definitely had that personal experience with this too, and I've heard it more than one times in our work. And yeah, something as simple as being taught how to do taxes is something that is oftentimes forgot. So yeah, thank you everybody for sharing, and we'll move on to our next question. So our next question for you, Anna P. How did experiencing housing insecurity impact your ability to focus on education, employment, or your well-being?
Honestly, it took me this whole entire week to really sit here and reread this question 3 times because the housing insecurity really does impact somebody. When you don't have housing, it impacts you from sleeping right, it impacts you in your health, it impacts you on your mental health, it impacts you in every each way that you cannot think of because you're not comfortable. How anyone goes home where they can sit there and lay in their bed and, be at peace with themselves. When you're homeless, you can't be at peace. You have to worry about where am I going to lay my head next. You won't be able to focus on your education. When I was homeless, I was going to college and I was from couch to couch, from family to family because I didn't have nowhere to go. And I couldn't finish college because of that. So when I got my housing, it impacted me in a positive way that I can never show my gratitude of how much I appreciate all the programs I've been through with Hope Solutions, RISE, ILSP, every program that I went through, youth. It was just, it impacted me in so many ways that it gave me trauma to the point where it made me a strong, independent woman today. So one thing I can vouch for is, yeah, being homeless sucks. It sucks, especially when you're young and you're just trying to do what you can for yourself. So yeah, it just, it, it impacts in a negative way when you don't have housing. So yeah.
Thank you, Anna. And would anybody else like to talk about how housing insecurity has impacted your ability to focus on maybe you're exploring what you want in your daily activities or living a self-directed life? Leon, go ahead.
Yes, I myself have gone through that road as well within my time after becoming an adult, 18. Um, for me, especially having nothing, starting from literally nothing, being on in my own car or even being as well as on the street. I think myself from my experience, it was really hard to find employment and be stable to even stay employed or to finish out college credits. Within that, it made me think a lot about how am I going to get through the next day? Will I even finish college? Will I even have a career after this? To be able to start my own housing, start my own financial assets to grow, as well as maybe one day possibly having my own children. Um, it made me think a lot about myself in those darkest times. Although, with the help I got within Contra Costa College, as well as introducing me to these programs and being part of something special, especially fighting for the youth. For me, it had to I had to build character from being at the lowest point. That taught me a lot of things, especially in college here and where you guys are today. Being able to build resilience, being able to bounce back out and say, I got this. But through all, um, reviewing everything I've been through, it is a struggle. It's one of the hardest struggles that anyone could go through, especially some caseloads that I have met with some clients here in Contra Costa College as well as my time there. There are young adults who have children. That's even harder. To being able to feed mouths of kids and being able to strive to keep moving forward to make something happen.
Thank you, Leon, for sharing your experiences. And not to put you on the spot, Teddy, but I know you have some similar experiences to share, and as being a student as well. So,
Currently a student. And let me just say this, it is not that easy. Currently a student, and it's really not that easy trying to balance the rules of the shelter, trying to balance school, and I gotta say, shout out to Hope because she is a great boss. And it's very understanding when I have to stop in the middle of the workday and do homework before it's due at midnight that same day.
that's so real. Yeah. Dealing with the restrictions of the shelter on top of everything else too. Yeah.
Maddening.
We off script.
Well, we're gonna move on to our next question. Thanks everybody who shared on this one. Our next question is, were there any programs or services that really made a difference in your journey? What worked and what didn't? And Johnny, I'm gonna hand the mic to you.
I'm Johnny. This question is kind of tough to really answer this question. A little bit about my background. I'm a youth that's dealt with incarceration. And so a lot of the programs that could have possibly been beneficial, you know, I've had to face discrimination for, with having a background and having a record and stuff. But one program that I'd recommend once it got some things situated is Cali House, where a lot of us have came from. Uh, I'm not from here. I was born here, but I'm not from here, and so I'm you know, still trying to figure everything out and stuff. But Cali House was cool. The case managers there were really focused on trying to get us to the next step. Um, Pomona, that's a transitional housing unit, and that's a program I've been to. I won't necessarily say it worked. This probably answers other questions that we have on here, but just, you know, a little bit of what we all have been through is just individual case managers or just staff in general, you know, that are not really there for the youth. You know, that's something that a lot of youth have to deal with and have to try to overcome on top of what they're already dealing with themselves. I was thankfully able to get enrolled in school. I didn't finish high school, but I was enrolled in school and working towards finishing that. And while being in one of these programs that I've on my journey, I would say maybe to just negligence towards, you know, just, you know, what we've all talked about, there not being enough places or any even programs or anything that to house youth. You know, they're just put in a program altogether. You know, some of them might be dealing with things like, you know, mental health issues or, you know, things like that. And like with my experience, it goes over, I don't know the correct way, over or underlooked. I think it's underlooked for sure. But you know, those, I don't know. Uh I definitely would recommend, you know, better programming out there. Rubicon is a definite program that works. I'm working with them right now as far as housing and employment and really anything. They're a program that specializes with youth dealing with that have dealt with incarceration and stuff like that. That program is pretty cool. The coach there, he does good with reaching out and making sure everything's good and, you know, anything that I need, and he's pointing me into some positive directions. So that's one that I'll definitely keep working with.
Thank you, Johnny. And I'm hearing you say something that feels especially impactful to me as well, that individuals can make all the difference and, you know, your experiences when you're navigating homelessness, especially as a youth. And most of the work is being there, like getting there and being there for you and for us. So I appreciate that, and thank you for sharing your experiences. Leon's online. Feel free to go. Feel free to share, Leon.
Thank you. I could say from this, there's many programs that actually helped me along the way, as well as other youth, to be in this position today. I do want to shout out to the programs that have worked. Spark Point, especially, thank you so much. They have helped me, as well as countless other students here in this college, to even figure out what financial stability is. Having to go out their way to make sure that everyone is good financially, as well as the other programs here in Contra Costa College, ELPS. Without them as well, I wouldn't have gotten the necessities to be able to go to my classes or have the material to go through. Basic needs as well. Thank you, Hope Dixon, for building this character upon me and where I am today. You have actually inspired me to get into this work, and this is the most amazing thing that has happened within the past 2 years. Other programs outside, I also want to say thank you, Caroline, again from H3. You guys have helped me out as well, building this career pathway and helping other youth and fighting for a cause. I also want to give my thanks as well to Contra Costa Health. Even though Contra Costa Health has started off rough, we actually are building to be better. Other programs that really made a difference, yeah. Without you,
Leon, I don't mean to cut you off, but we're gonna have to move on to the next question.
all good. Thank you, guys.
Sorry about that. Thank you. We're running a little bit low on time. Okay. Our next question will be, what advice would you give to service providers or policymakers to better support young people in similar situations? And this one, I'm just going to leave it open for anybody who feels like they've got a thought on this.
I feel as though there shouldn't be any blame put on us for how we got into a situation. We shouldn't be blamed for how we got into the situation. There should be training for staff, like better training for staff members, like policy implementation. Responding to the suggestion boxes, being consistent, goes a long way with the enforcement of policies like shelters, transitional living programs, grievances. All that requires consistency, as well as more funding. That's it.
Anybody else want to share? Anastasia.
My advice is to first listen to the young people who have experienced housing instability / homelessness. We often know what we need better than anyone else. And it's also important to make sure that there are safe, non-judgmental spaces where YYA can access certain services without feeling ashamed or like they're being penalized. It should be about giving youth the tools to rebuild their stability in a way that respects their autonomy and dignity.
Thank you, Anastasia. Michael?
What advice we get? I think shelters with like so much resources, so like a bunch of food, of donations, or like so food, thicker beds, so you could get comfortable, better showers, good cleaning supplies to keep the house smelling clean. And I think education, especially for people that hasn't finished like either high school, can finish high school or college, find a way to do stuff like that. Cause it might be tough for some people to get a job out there that need like a diploma or a college degree just to get a job, to work and get things done, things like that. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. The things that we all need to survive is what I'm hearing. Yeah. Okay, and if anybody else has anything else to share on this question, no? I'm gonna skip number 8 for now. We can come back to it if we have time. We're gonna go to number 9. The question is, what role does mental health and trauma play in housing instability for youth? And what should we be doing to address these issues? And I'm gonna give it over to you, Heaven.
I think trauma and mental health plays a very, very big role in housing instability. I feel like having trauma and mental health tying together clearly. But I feel like based off of your mental health, that dictates a lot of how you deal with problems when they arise, how you deal with adversity, and your motivation to get through whatever it is that you're going through. Um, and I feel that the things that should be done to address these issues, first of all, is patience. Service providers and housing programs. It's easier said than done. It's all circumstantial, but I feel like patience and once again, bringing up the word empathy. I feel like in the circumstances of homeless youth, I feel like that is lacked a lot. I don't see that very often. Um, and I also think that having and enforcing mental health services for homeless youth, whether they are housed or not, I've I think that would make all the difference for how homeless youth deal with their instability and adjust to housing. Sometimes you've been homeless for so long and your trauma, you're not used to having good things happen. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have experienced that, just dealt with so much bad. You don't believe the good is actually good. Um, so yeah, I can't stress enough mental health services, whether that's psychiatry or therapy, making sure that youth are being checked in with. Sometimes you run off, life gets so stressful, trauma and mental health, you're not always checked in and reaching out. Sometimes you need someone to reach out to you. And if nor parties are reaching out to each other, then nothing's getting done and youth aren't getting the help that they need. And I feel like that causes mental health and trauma to just, spiral downwards and not get better.
Thank you, Heaven. Anybody else like to say anything about the role of mental health and trauma? Michael?
So I was thinking about mental health and trauma. I think living on your own can help a lot with with dealing with a lot of problems at home, because there's a lot of kids that also deal with a lot of like aggression and abusive parents or something that could come off very rude or I can't say the word ignorant, and it can cause a lot of physical attention in your futures, maybe body language or face features. You might come off like scary or even come off as like intimidated, and some people might see that as a weakness, but you don't know that guy might be a person that can fight, or it could be a female that knows how to fight, and it could be used as like it can be used as something that can help them, or it can also I don't really but trauma and stuff like that. But to address those is I don't really know. Is maybe like I don't know. I wouldn't.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for sharing. And I think anybody else have anything to share about this question?
So I could wrap it up real fast. I do believe with housing takes a toll on everybody. Including people that aren't homeless, it takes a toll on everybody where you live, how you sleep, how you eat, how you breathe. Everything takes a toll on a person, especially when you're going through a struggle at a young age. it, I feel like our case managers, I feel like they really need to be there, like they say they're going to be there for their youth. I've dealt with a lot of case managers that will sit here and be like, oh yeah, you could go to a psychologist. But I'm like, you as my case manager, you're not checking up on me, how I'm doing mentally. You're not checking up on your youth that you're supposed to be guiding for the better. So I feel like it has to do with our case managers and it really has to do with, the programs. If they can get to their case managers and help us for a better effect in our life would just be at least hitting us up, text, at least a message or a voicemail like, hey, how you been today? I'm checking up on you. Do you need any resources that I can hand out? Do you need any help? I know you could be going to psychology, but at the end of the day, me as a person that already went through this and as a case worker, I'm here to listen to you, because some people don't get the chance to talk. And that's where suicides and a lot of kids that are in homelessness kill themselves. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you, Anna. And I think we're going to close out the space. Oh, Johnny,
Real quick.
please.
I feel like the first thing would be acknowledging that there are youth that deal with both issues. Since even being out here, I've lost one friend due to suicide, and he was also dealing with youth homelessness. I feel like I don't know the exact numbers or anything. I guess I should have came more prepared with that, but I do have a little bit. I know that there is a huge chunk of money that goes towards services for people experiencing homelessness, and only 10% of that goes towards youth homelessness. Now, how much of that do you think goes towards youth dealing with those issues? I bet it's not enough. It's not even 10%. It's not even enough to deal with the youth homelessness that we have. I feel like there should definitely be programs and services that are aimed directly towards that. When you have programs that have everything all in a nutshell, it's hard for people to focus on what issues are more important, what issues need more tending to, or you know what I mean? And so I feel like there should be programs that are not all placed together but spread individual, not to segregate anybody or anything, but like if you're going to a class to train on something, but there's a whole bunch of people in that classroom, you're not going to get that one-on-one training that you need. And so I feel like people dealing with that mental health and trauma, they need that one-on-one training, they need that help, you know. And we could probably go on all day about that issue, but yeah, that's all I had.
Thank you, Johnny. And we're going to close out the space now, the panel space. When we're talking about matters of trauma, it's pretty heavy. And at the end of every YAB meeting, we like to do a closeout, just how we're feeling. So I'm going to quickly just go by our panelists and check in. Anastasia, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I was super nervous about this panel. I did not think I was gonna do well. The first question, I was super nervous, but then after that, it was like I got more comfortable. So I'm really happy with how I did today, and I hope you guys are happy too.
I'm John. I'm feeling grateful to know that there is a group of people willing to fight for this cause and believe in it.
I'm Ray, and I'm feeling hopeful that you guys take our words to heart.
I'm a Johnny. I'm anxious. I have been since the moment I sat down in this chair, but now I'm gonna focus my anxiousness towards, the work that we're doing. But anxious in a good way, I guess, if you can look at it that way. It's about perspective. But yeah.
I'm Heaven, and I'm appreciative for everyone who came to listen. And yeah.
I'm Anna. I feel emotionally happy. I got to hear everybody's side and their opinion, and I'm glad that there's people online watching us, because I'm glad for those that came in person. I'm proud of those that were here today all together to make this happen. And I hope that we can be big and we can keep striving for the best together as a team.
Just a second.
Um, I'm excited that you guys were here. Yeah, it's cool.
I'm making a hot dog.
Thank you. Oh, we have one more. Leon, online. How are you feeling?
Leon,
Okay, maybe we'll hear from Leon and
Oh,
the
sorry.
and I'm hearing all of your experiences and I'm feeling inspired. So thank you all for being here, and all of you have experienced so many things through your journeys, and I've been right there too. So it was hard for me not to say anything, but thank you all for sharing. And yeah.
Back. Okay, so I'm Caroline again. I'm going to close up and kind of just share what's up next and how we're going to move forward in community together. Michael, do you want to come join me? So we're going to kind of close out, and then we have kind of a last thought for our panelists, our Youth Action Board members to kind of think about. But again, I mentioned this in the beginning around all the work that's been happening this past year. So much work. Again, in March or spring of earlier this year, our Youth Action Board and our partners identified some short-term strategic activities. So there were 14 kind of first-tier priorities, along with 10 second-tier short-term priorities. And so this is and we were looking at it in terms of, okay, impact, feasibility, and timeline. What can we realistically accomplish within a short term, 9 to 12 months, right? Take us to this past October. Just recently, we brought back and invited community members along with our Youth Action Board to meet and start planning, like, okay, how are we going to move forward some of these identified priorities? We knew at that point we weren't awarded the federal YHDP funds, but we know that we could still move forward with some of these short-term projects. And several of those priorities have already been implemented, right? Including our Youth Action Board, which is huge. And we're going to continue, in like this past, thinking about our Youth Action Board and everything that they've accomplished and everything that they've been involved with, in terms of just building out all the bylaws. We have our young people that are now engaged in looking at our coordinated entry system of care and kind of looking at the assessment tool. We have our YAB members who are going to be involved in reviewing requests for proposals and contracts, right? We've never had young people at the table. So it's really excited that now we're in building out the YAB, that we have young people making decisions and at the table where they should be. So all very exciting. Oh, did I just? No, go back. Yeah, I wasn't ready yet. And so for the community, where we're going in the next 9 months, we are going to we have what we're calling our core and implementation committees that are going to be working on moving forward these priorities along with our young people, along with our Youth Action Board. So if you haven't already, I'll resend out that information. We're going to continue with Youth Action Board opportunities and recruitment. So that's what you could expect from us in the next 9 months. Go to the next slide. And wanted to share again, the whole summer we just really spent on developing this YHDP, this youth homelessness demonstration, the application, right? But it really was a needs assessment too, and kind of gave us time and space to reflect. And one of the questions that our YAB, our young people, were asked to respond was, how do you define success? And so I asked Michael if he could share these with our community, because I don't think we've shared these before, what the young people have out of their, how they define success. And then if there's anything else that the YAB members wanted to add. So I'll let you read that. Yeah, you can read it if you want the mic. There you go.
Okay. Cool. So seeing as it's not is it oh seeing as many youth and young adults move on from homelessness and find stability, housing stability, financial stability, social emotional stability, etc. Seeing the YAB grow throughout our county and have the resources to reach as many YYA as possible, and having more invested in advocacy on behalf of our community, knowing that experiences homelessness can access resources to find stability in a streamlined, efficient way, and knowing that they feel empowered to use these resources. Seeing the plans and projects that the YAB recommends come life for in our county. Can I say something?
Kind of as a closing, before we, if any of the YAB members wanted to add, because this is what you all came up with the application and how you would define success. I didn't know if there was anything to add, but this was a pretty solid list. That works? No? Okay. I wanted to share that with our community. Go to the next slide. For folks that are interested in learning more about the Youth Action Board, how to become involved in our short-term strategic planning for the next year. If you have young people that might want to, with lived experience of homelessness that want to be involved in our Youth Action Board, please contact me. We'll make sure to send out also the slides, but hopefully easy to find. The next slide. And of course, we want to make sure that, if you or anyone, or we're working with anyone that might be experiencing homelessness or is at risk of experiencing homelessness, just where to start in terms of accessing resources. So I'll pass it to Jamie. I don't know if you want to speak on that.
Let's see if this is going to work. So I'm Jamie Jeanette. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist for Contra Costa Health, Housing, and Homeless Services. And just the sort of easiest thing for folks to hold on to is that there are 3 ways to connect with services. So we have flyers here. I'm going to drop a link in the chat that are in English and Spanish. But basically, you can call 211. So the first one is call. The second one is CARE, which refers to our care centers. And the third is CORE, which refers to our mobile outreach teams. So from those 3 access points, what's going to happen is they'll ask some questions, they'll figure out what your needs are, what's available, what's appropriate, and then make suggestions for you or sometimes directly connect you. So you used to have to keep these big old long resource lists and remember who does what. And now it's really, we're trying to make it as simple as possible. Just connect through these 3 places. On the back of our flyers, we also have all of the shelters listed, including what part of the county they're in and what populations they serve. So we do have some shelters that are for families with children. We do have a Cali House, which is for transition-aged youth. There are some that are adult only. So there's some information too on the back of that. So I'll drop that into the chat.
I think this is the last slide, but certainly we didn't know how we were trying to wrap up the panel, but I'm sure folks may have questions for our young people, our YAB. And so we have a little time. I don't know if anyone had any questions, whether in the virtual space or in person. We could certainly connect here offline as well while we're here. Yeah, please go ahead, Janelle.
I also quickly want to take a moment to thank Mark for helping us manage all the tech. So thank you, Mark.
I just thank everybody for your ability, generosity, time. Can make a difference.
I'm going to share a few things in the chat because you all can't see this. You guys did amazing. Thanks for sharing. Thank you all for putting yourselves out there on this panel. Your leadership is a wonderful thing to witness. Amen. Y'all did amazing. So you're getting some love in the chat.
I don't know you at all, and I'm so proud of your leadership, your sharing, just being present and giving out pieces of yourselves. It's so beautiful. I'm over here crying and beaming and doing all this because it's very valuable, right? Your words, everything you have to say, your body language, your everything, and it's worth it to the community who cares. And I'm just very grateful to have found it. I was lost, but watching online, like, where are they? But I'm just so grateful that you all are here and for all the work that those who are here supporting you are doing. You're giving kudos and clapping. I'm like writing it down. Just yes, just yes, just yes. Thank you.
Just to echo that, yeah, I feel my fellow YAB members are the experts in this field. It's between this panel, I feel like we've touched every single part of the system and beyond. So it's, yeah, the experts are here.
I
just
also want
have
to give a
one
shout out
comment.
to our YAB member that came a little later, Isaiah
Isaiah?
Green in the room, in the house. Good to see you, Isaiah. Yeah, and no, it's on.
Okay. All I wanted to say was thank you to all of you for just your courage and being up there. The topic of homelessness, I sound maybe selfish or something saying this, but it honestly makes me so uncomfortable because it's, I don't know, just one of those things that I wouldn't wish on anyone. And so the fact that you all have lived experience, it just brings the realization of it and like the rawness of it to another level for me. So I'm just grateful to be here, and any way that I can support, I want to keep showing up. So thank you so much. And I really pray for all of y'all in your futures because I just want them to be everything you could dream of and more.
I just have one more comment. I want to say thank you guys so much. I didn't even know we touched juveniles. You see that? I didn't even know that. I want to say something on that too. Yes, I hope this actually helps those in juvenile as well. I hope we do, because when I got out of the system, they place foster kids in juvenile when they don't have nowhere to go. So it's very heartbreaking to know, because not everybody knows that. Not everybody knows that if you don't have nowhere to go when you hit 17, they place you in juvenile hall, and we're sitting there waiting for at least a housing for us to come out to. So yes, thank you so much for coming. And I appreciate for those that are listening, and I hope you guys come next time. Enjoy it. Thank you.
We have a question in-house.
So, hi, everybody. All you guys, really appreciate you sharing. I know this is probably at times really, not probably, but I will tell you, I'm sure that your challenge is or constant. And I see y'all. Even though I'm a professor here at the college in the nursing department, my other hat is I'm an excellent ER nurse. So I'm curious, how has your navigation of the waters through the health system, how you show up in the ER, what happens?
I can answer that. So me being in the system, I've been assaulted, I was visiting family one day. My teeth were broken and I had a broken nose. Till this day, I still have a broken nose and a fractured cheekbone. I went to the ER and my medical couldn't pay for certain things. So because I was homeless, I have basic medical, Contra Costa. I know other people get paid by their medical, or they get their medical paid by their jobs, or they even pay insurance just so they could get their medical. So for my experience, it's very hard to get whatever we need done in the medical field because of the insurance that we have. So.
I also have a comment on that. Unfortunately, because of my clumsiness and because of my disabilities, I've constantly been in and out of the ER. And 90% of the time, they just go, I'm sorry, we can't help you because of your insurance. And it's recently due to Social Security finally accepting that, yes, I'm disabled. They screwed up my medical insurance And now I'm going through state medical insurance where everything is very expensive and it's already hard enough with trying to keep a budget.
I want to share my experiences too. When I was in Cali House, I had at the time my hormone meds weren't on Medi-Cal yet, so I had to just hard stop, which was like a struggle with my doctors and with the staff and with everybody, and it was not good for mental health. But it felt like I didn't have anybody who was like willing to advocate for me in the health system. It was just kind of like you don't have what you need. Like it can't work. So yeah, it's definitely impacted me in my experiences.
Just to kind of piggyback off what Anna and Teddy said, I don't mean to tell anyone's business, but I think foster youth, they are given Medi-Cal, at least in Contra Costa County and in California. And from my experience, I think they cover the bare minimum, like, annual cleanings, emergency rides, like ambulance ride. And from that point forward, if you need surgery of any sort, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be denied. I have dental problems and all, and they made me a referral for a place that does not accept my insurance. And, when it comes to teeth, it's very serious. Anything internal, it's very serious, and no one wants to go through pain every day, not knowing how to fix it, not having the money to fix it. Called the office and told me it was going to be a couple thousand just to fix one of my problems. And yeah, no one should be made to physically suffer. And that also feeds into your mental health and how you function throughout the days. So yeah, just because you don't have enough money or the right insurance doesn't mean you should sit through physical pain. But a lot of foster youth only have Medi-Cal, and those don't cover a lot of surgeries. So yeah.
I'm just curious if any of y'all would share your plans for the future. Just curious, like what it is that you want to
So,
do.
I don't know if any of my other colleagues has any kids, but I am a mom. And I'm only 23 years old and I have a 4-year-old daughter. I had her since I was 19. I have struggled with her through homelessness. Um, and the future I see is one day I just want to be sitting in my own house with my kid and enjoying the moment with her. Um, that's where I see myself, because since I didn't grow up having my own house, that's something that I would dream to have, is just have my own house and be proud of myself, because throughout every outcome that I went through, it was a beautiful struggle, but just leaving my kid with the house would be the last worry I would ever worry about. So that's one thing. And my future goal is to just finish up my degree in social working to become a CPS attorney.
I think just like anyone, I feel like just, being in a spot where you could call it your own. But I have a personal goal. I'd like to, still gambling, but I'd either like to be a veterinarian or a child psychologist, one of the two, something that I actually have a passion and a care for. I don't want to throw myself into something that I'm not passionate about. So yeah, that's just the future goal, just comfortability, financial stability, and yeah, just pouring myself into things that I'm passionate about.
Just want to make sure, Michael, you have a chance to share if you'd want to.
So what I basically want to do is get my high school degree, and then I want to get a college degree of business. And then I also want to get a certificate to drive to drive trailer trucks, and just work for my rest of my life, and that's it. And be able to take care of whatever I had to take care of, and live in a house that I want to live in, and have a family and stuff like that. So yeah, that would be cool.
I want to finish school and I want to start classes in college. I want to get a degree in business and marketing and stuff like that. I want to own my own businesses. Um, but I just want to not have to worry about stuff that, unless I make myself worry. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, I'm tired of people putting things on me to worry about. I want to be able to depend on myself, no one else, stand on my own 2 feet and be proud of it. I want to one day look back at where I've came from and be proud and almost cry because, it's been such a long journey, how hard it's been and everything. Um, but I also want to stay in a field where I can continue work like this and help people and maybe better the situations and the lives of future, I mean, God forbid, but future young homeless people or, youth homeless. And yeah, I just wanna help and feel, proud for where I'm at. I don't know what it's gonna be. I don't know what's in the store for me or where my future is, but I just want to be proud of it wherever I end up.
I want to follow my dreams of being a multimedia artist and follow my passion with stop motion animation. I am currently going to college to be an artist and would like to see that through. Plus, continue my work with helping others.
I plan on continuing my education, getting my degree in art, as well as social work because I feel like growing up in the system made me want to gut it from the inside. So I'm gonna work my way up from this and maybe make this my career, something like this.
Um, I'm already housed now. Yeah. Like the beginning of this month, I was able to get housed, so I'm no longer homeless, but I know it kind of sounds corny, but I just want to be able to live for myself because I do deal with depression and I know like my situation with homelessness wasn't the same as everyone else's. Luckily, it wasn't that bad. But I do notice that I am more independent ever since I became homeless. It does build character. Um, for me, it was for the better. So I think right now I just want to do things that make me happy and that makes me feel like a better person. Whatever it is, even if it's like right now, just going out and just spending money on niche things that make me feel good. And because I know before I never was able to do that because no money. People didn't, want to spend their money on things that I wanted because it's useless to them, but to me it really makes me feel good. Um, so I think that's what I'm just focusing on now, and that's what I want to do.
Thanks, everybody. Is there anything else online, Jamie? Go right ahead.
I would like to know.
Just in case, yeah.
I would like to know, I'll note that I'm an interfaith chaplain and we work to get youth, if you have any worship center, doesn't matter where, connected. So I would like to know or if any worship center or any faith-based services, have they been impactful? Have they not? Do they show up? Any kind of response to that?
I'm gonna start by saying I haven't personally experienced any, but I would like to. I would like to. I definitely am a religious person, and there isn't any except for the Salvation Army, where we go to get like food when we got nothing. Um, that's about it as far as church. or spirit, anything like.
John, Mikasa is funded by the Lutheran Church. So that is a program that's kind of through, yes, well, and that's where it comes in, where they're not directly the service providers aren't directly tied to the church. The church gives them the funding and the place to run and house youth, but there is no necessarily like, you know, upfront religious ties, and you know, they once again hiring the proper service providers and
Right.
you know,
The correct resources.
yes, correct resources.
Like,
Yeah.
we don't need like 50 pounds of toilet paper and hella laundry detergent. Like, spend that money on a therapist for us. Like,
Yeah. So just, you know,
like you-
misusing
like you are.
funding, I guess I would say.
youth pastor. And Pastor Willie, please.
Yeah, I'm like,
As my capacity being a peer, I have, and when I was homeless, I didn't use those services as much. But in my capacity as a peer, the Bay Area Rescue Mission I know has shown up for some of my peers. I remember one time I had a peer who had a job interview the next day. It was like crucial, and it was like 3 p.m. and I called them and I was like, she needs some shoes. She's doing a nursing job, and they got the shoes for her. Like, they made it happen. So I can say that they show up. I've never personally utilized their services, but I have heard that from a Bay Area Rescue Mission. Yeah. I think we're just about at time. Yeah, so thank you, everybody. Thank you to our panelists for participating and sharing your expert opinions. Thank you for all the questions. And thank you for all the questions and everybody who participated in person and in Zoom. And I hope everybody learned a lot. Jamie, I see you.
Yes, go Carol.
Yes.
Get you.
Thanks, everybody.
The food pantry.
well, no.
Where?
Here, I'm playing.